Welcome to the instructional video outlining some advice and tips for applying to NSERC postgraduate and postdoctoral programs. This video was recorded by the Scholarships and Fellowships Division at NSERC and is available in both English and French. The advice and tips covered in this video are applicable to all NSERC postgraduate and postdoctoral programs. However, any specific references to an application form are referring to the Form 201 application completed by Canada Graduate Scholarship Doctoral, or CGSD, NSERC Postgraduate Scholarship Doctoral, or PGSD, and NSERC Postdoctoral Fellowship, or PDF applicants. If you are a Canada Graduate Scholarship Masters, or CGSM applicant, you are required to use the research portal to submit your application. Let's get things rolling with some general tips. The tips listed on this slide may seem basic, but they provide the foundation for a high-quality application. First, it is very important to carefully read the program description and application instructions prior to and while completing your application. If you do not meet the eligibility criteria detailed in the program description or do not follow the application instructions, your application may be rejected. Second, we strongly encourage you to read and refer to the Selection Committee Guide for Postgraduate Scholarships, Doctoral, and Postdoctoral Fellowships programs throughout the application process. This guide is a key resource used by Scholarships and Fellowships Selection Committee members during their evaluations and includes information on how the selection criteria are assessed by reviewers. While preparing your application, you should provide evidence and examples that fit these selection criteria so that reviewers can fully assess your research, leadership, and academic qualities during the review process. Third, in addition to this series of instructional videos, other resource videos are available on NSERC's Students and Fellows Resource Videos webpage. Finally, we strongly encourage you to talk to your supervisor, current or proposed. They may be able to help you navigate the application process. Next, we will talk about the most important part of the application, the research proposal. The research proposal is a 2-page attachment that should describe a research project that you plan to work on during the tenure of your award. The key difference between the doctoral and postdoctoral applications is that the research proposal for a PDF application must include references within the 2-page limit. A doctoral application does not need to include references within the page limits, but can include a separate bibliography attachment of up to 5 pages to support the research proposal. For more information, view the PGSD, CGSD, and PDF online system tutorial video in this series. So, what makes a strong research proposal? The next points describe common characteristics that we have observed in successful applications. Write the proposal yourself. The content of your research proposal must be written by you. It cannot be an extract from a supervisor's grant proposal and cannot be written by your current or proposed supervisor. It's okay to ask for feedback on your proposal. In fact, this is recommended, but the research idea and bulk of the composition must come from you. Your proposal should be as clear and specific as possible, and you should state your objectives, hypothesis, basic methodology, and the significance of the proposed work. A strong proposal introduces and provides an overview of the proposed topic, provides context for the project, and discusses an approach for exploring or solving the research challenge. Includes a brief description of expected research outcomes and potential future work and research directions, and does not repeat information that was already included in the thesis summary section. While you can refer to information contained within that section, the research proposal and the thesis summary should be distinct. Explain the significance of your project. Your proposal should explain how your research will advance knowledge in your field or within the broader natural sciences and engineering community. Context is important in grantsmanship. It can really make the reader excited about the work you propose to do and helps them understand its significance. If you are not certain what your project will be, write a proposal about a possible project that you are interested in. You can adjust the topic of your research project at a later date, provided it still falls within NSERC's mandate. Make your proposal clear for reviewers. You should write in clear, plain language and avoid jargon. Your application will be reviewed by a selection committee whose expertise covers a broad range of areas in your field. It is unlikely that someone specializing in your specific area of research will be reviewing your application. As such, you should write this and all sections of your application so that they can be understood by a general audience of scientists in your field. The committee will be assessing your written communication skills as part of their evaluation, which includes the ability to convey an idea to a wide range of scientists. You should include appropriate references and ensure that you are properly citing work that others have done. Be aware that within your research proposal, or anywhere within your application, readers should not be directed to external links or additional resources. While it might seem like this would maximize space, members are not permitted to take the content of external resources into account during their review. They can only evaluate the text contained within the submitted application. Describe equity, diversity, and inclusion, or EDI, considerations in your research plan, if applicable. A strong research proposal takes all potential variables into account, including EDI considerations. Before you write your research proposal, you should take some time to reflect on whether these considerations are applicable to your research. It is important to consider EDI through each stage of the research process, including, but not limited to, the research questions, design, methodology, analysis, interpretation, and dissemination of results, and integrate these considerations where relevant. Considering EDI in the research process promotes research excellence by making research outcomes more relevant to society as a whole, more ethically sound, rigorous, reproducible, and useful, and can strengthen your overall research proposal. Resources providing more information on how to integrate EDI considerations at each stage of the research process are provided in the Instructions for Completing an Application, Form 201. You are strongly encouraged to review these resources prior to writing your research proposal. As noted in the PGSD, CGSD, and PDF online system tutorial and Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion videos in this series, you must complete a module titled Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Considerations in the Research Process during the application process. For more details about this module, and more information about EDI initiatives at NSERC, please refer to those videos. Finally, your research proposal should convey your passion. It is clear to the reader when a researcher is passionate and enthusiastic about their proposed work, and that passion is infectious. Make the reviewers care about your project as much as you do. Next, we will cover what types of research are eligible to receive NSERC funding. NSERC supports research whose major challenges lie in the natural sciences and engineering, or NSE, other than the health sciences. Research whose goal is to advance NSE knowledge is eligible for NSERC support, even if it may have potential future applications in human health. In order to better understand subject eligibility requirements, you are encouraged to visit the Selecting the Appropriate Federal Granting Agency webpage, hosted on the www.science.gc.ca website. This webpage provides potential applicants with information on what types of research are and are not eligible for NSERC support. If you are still uncertain whether your research is eligible after visiting this webpage, you may email NSERC program staff a copy of your research proposal, and we can provide you with advice. You are also encouraged to speak with your supervisor and/or colleagues. As noted in the PGSD, CGSD, and PDF online system tutorial video in this series, you may include an optional one-page attachment with your application, which is called the Justification for Eligibility of Proposed Research. Typically, applicants should use between 1/4 and 1/2 page of text in this attachment. This attachment is not intended to reiterate the information contained in your research proposal, but rather to describe, to NSERC staff, the research challenges of the project and why it should be considered research that is predominantly NSE. If there is any possibility that your research could be interpreted as having overlap with either the funding mandates of the Canadian Institutes of Health Research or the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada, you should complete this section. It will be seen only by NSERC program staff and will help them to determine whether your proposed research falls within NSERC's mandate. If your research is deemed to have significant overlap with one of the other agencies and you do not include this section, NSERC may reject your application. Next, we will explore the Contributions and Applicant Statement section. Both the doctoral and postdoctoral programs require the attachment of a freeform contributions and statements section. Postdoctoral applicants are allowed up to 4 pages for this section, while doctoral applicants are allowed up to 2 pages. This section of the application has 3 parts. Part 1 should list your contributions to research and development. Here, you can list articles that have been published, accepted, and/or submitted to peer-reviewed journals or publications. Publications that are in preparation, but which have not been submitted by the application deadline, cannot be included. If you list any co-authored publications in this section, these entries should include a brief description, 1 to 2 sentences, specifying your role in the publication, or the rationale or practice used to determine the order in which the authors are listed. In other words, why you are listed as the first, second, third, fourth author, and so on. If you wish, you may use a percentage to approximate your portion of the contributions instead. You may also list other types of research contributions in this section, such as poster or oral research presentations at conferences, patents and copyrights awarded, or contributions to industrial research and development activities. For full details on what information to include in Part 1, and how to present this information in accordance with NSERC standards, you should review the application instructions in detail. Keep in mind that the intent of this section is to provide reviewers with a snapshot of your work at the time of application. As such, NSERC will not accept updates to your publication record after your application has been submitted. Part 2 should describe your most significant contributions to research and development. In this section, choose up to 3 of the contributions listed in Part 1 and elaborate. For each of these contributions, you should describe your role in the research in greater detail, including experimentation, collaboration, manuscript preparation, reasons for publishing in certain journals, how the research has contributed or is contributing to your research field, or any other aspects that would showcase your contributions to the selection committee members. If the published research is part of an ongoing project, you can also describe your ongoing contributions to this work. Part 3 is the applicant statement, where you should describe the skills, experiences, and qualities that best demonstrate your excellence and suitability for the award program. This is a section of the application where you can really highlight your unique leadership, communication, research, and academic prowess to reviewers. You should provide details about your science and/or engineering abilities, as well as relevant activities and work experiences that have supported your development as a researcher and future scientific leader. Examples of experiences that might be included in this section are mentoring, conference presentations, teaching experience, committee participation, conference planning, science outreach activities, volunteer work, and any other experiences that have contributed to the development and advancement of your research career and field. Do not underestimate the length of time required to complete this section. You have a limited amount of space to work with. In order to include all desired information, your writing must be clear and concise. Ultimately, you may not have space to include all of the information that you want to, and will have to decide which of your contributions and experiences most strengthen your overall application package. If you decide to exclude information from this section, we encourage you to reach out to your references in advance of the deadline to let them know. They may then choose to include this information in their report on the applicant. For more information on what to include in this section, you should closely review the application instructions and the selection committee guide available on the NSERC website. As was described in the PGSD, CGSD, and PDF online system tutorial video in this series, 2 reports on the applicant must be submitted with your application through the NSERC online system. You should choose your references very carefully. These reports can have a significant effect on the success of your application. Reviewers use them as a source of supplementary information about you and your accomplishments, and as an independent verification of the information that you have provided in your application package. These reports should be prepared by people who are familiar with your research and work. They normally include your current research supervisor and another academic or workplace supervisor. If you have only had one research supervisor, you can invite a professor who knows you and your work well, or perhaps a supervisor from a co-op term. Your proposed supervisor cannot act as a reference if you have not worked with them. A family member, or anyone who is not familiar with your research work or field, is not an appropriate reference. Invite your references early. Keep in mind that they are likely to have competing deadlines in their calendars, and that you may not be the only student they have been asked to write a reference for. We encourage you to communicate with them early in the process and to set a soft completion deadline 1 or 2 weeks ahead of the actual application deadline. You will not be able to submit your application until both reports on the applicant have been received in the online system. Provide background information. While your references know you well, it is unlikely that they keep a comprehensive list of your accomplishments on file. In order to make their lives easier, and to help them deliver the strongest possible report on the applicant, you should provide them with a summary of your accomplishments. This should include details that support your research, leadership, and communication skills, both within and beyond academia, so that selection committee members evaluating your application are provided with specific examples of your abilities that are related to program selection criteria. Successful applications tend to include letters which focus not only on the applicant's accomplishments in a reference's specific research lab, but also on their overall research and leadership accomplishments and potential. Finally, send reminders. It is wise to occasionally check in with your references to remind them of the deadline date that you set, and to verify that they are still willing to complete the report on the applicant. If, for some reason, they become unable to do so, you can delete their entry from the online system and invite a new reference. Before we conclude this video, I'll take a few minutes to outline some other common application errors and mistakes that have been noted by NSERC program staff and selection committee members over the years. First, not properly explaining the impact of your research could be detrimental to your application. Your research should be presented within the context of your field and the potential impact within your field and the overall scientific community should be described. Next, try to avoid repetitiveness. You have a limited amount of space to work with, so avoid repeating the same information in multiple sections of your application, such as in the summary of thesis and the research proposal sections. A well-crafted, non-repetitive application package demonstrates strong communication skills. Pay attention to missing or irrelevant citations. The citations included with your research proposal or bibliography are an indicator of your research knowledge. The absence of key citations from the proposed area of research, the inclusion of irrelevant citations, and a high reliance on secondary sources in the content of your proposal weakens the application. Your proposed research should focus on a specific goal, and the research proposal as a whole should be cohesive. Selection committee members will be looking at what you plan to do and how you plan to accomplish your research goals. Applications that are written too generally are not typically well received. Next, avoid spelling or grammatical mistakes. We strongly recommend that you have a peer or colleague review your application for clarity, grammar, and spelling prior to its submission. By the time you submit your application, it is likely that you will have reviewed this text so frequently that you may miss small spelling errors, such as on versus no, which may negatively affect your evaluation. You are competing against top-tier students and fellows, and should make every effort to increase your application's competitiveness. This includes ensuring that the submitted application is grammatically correct. Finally, this is not the time to be modest about your achievements. You need to make your application stand out. When reviewing your contributions and statements section, pretend that you are reading a close friend's application instead, and think about the advice that you would give them to make their application exceptional. Embrace and highlight your accomplishments. Don't underplay their value. All applicants have interesting and notable accomplishments. The difference between a successful applicant and an unsuccessful applicant may be the way that the information is presented. This concludes the video. For additional information, we encourage you to watch all other videos in this series that are applicable to the program to which you are applying. If you have any questions about NSERC scholarships and fellowships programs, you may contact program staff by email at schol@nsirc-crsng.gc.ca. For technical difficulties with the online system, contact the Online Services Help Desk by email at webapp@nsirc-crsng.gc.ca. Good luck!